talking about stress, how, and when you were saying about the wanting to spend, someone's value might be wanting to spend more time with family versus working an 80-hour week. How can, I guess it's a bit of a balancing act, but how can someone make that a reality if one of their values is wanting to spend more time with family, but they need to work long hours so that they can provide money or a roof over their heads for their family? How can there be a balance between spending time with family versus making the money so that their family can eat or be clothed or whatever?
I love that one because that's something that I encounter every single day. Let's look at the problem a bit differently. I love to look at things by the impact. Put yourself in a situation where you have to work 80 hours a week to provide for your family with a roof and something in the plate and all of that. But you don't have time to see your family because that's what you do when you work 80 hours a week. How would you feel?
I'd feel sad that was my reality and had to spend all that time at work to not see my family.
Then think about, so you're going to be sad. Daily, you're going to be sad. We're okay on that. How do you think you're going to be when you're going to be with your family?
Excited and happy and ecstatic to be able to spend time with them.
Yeah. Do you think that you're going to feel like this all the time? Or do you feel that there's going to be that part of you that tells you, oh, it's just a short moment, I wish I had more, and because I'm so sad all day long, am I going to be able to give my best to my family when I come home?
No, you wouldn't be able to give your best if you're constantly feeling sad.
Right. So if you prefer, you're going to spend 80 hours a week in an environment where you feel highly frustrated. And then when you come home, you need to kill that frustration to give your best to your family. This is a good challenge. And if you have a look at the reality, there's actually many families that lives like that around the world, where, because the cherry on the cake is the fact that they hate the job that they have as well. So they have a job that doesn't match their value, where they spend 80 hours a week. So they're getting frustrated all day long. And when they get home, well, they're definitely not in the right mindset to enjoy the little time that they have with their family. Because of this, the family is going to get impacted for that. And so even the little time that we spend with the family, the quality decrease as we go because nothing gets any better. So if you prefer in that situation, the question is, does that still make sense to work 80 hours a week in a job that you don't like? Okay, easier said than done. We can say, oh yeah, it's nice to say that, but like you could do, how can we find the right job that will help us and everything? Every single one of us, we're passionate by something. And I always invite people to be aware of what motivates them. And I say, push what motivates you higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And if you're really motivated by this, at some point you might be able to live out of it and you might be able to provide for your family out of it. But I've seen some family way more happier, not because they were making more money, but simply because of what the parents were doing in terms of job. Simply that. So those people were doing, maybe they were still doing 80 hours a week, some of them, but they knew that through the job, they were making a difference. They were making something that fulfilled them. Because they have that sense of satisfaction and they were happy, at least when they're going home, they can give the best to their family. Does that make sense? So
yeah, that does.
It works for that. It works in that sense. And now there's no mystery. Every single person that I've met and that is passionate and that is fulfilled in the job that they're doing, they open more opportunities for themselves. And on the long run, they actually are able to balance out their life and work a lot more than that. If you prefer, we're living today in a society where we want everything for nothing. I want the money, but I don't want to work for it. I want to spend the time with my family and be able to provide for them, but I don't want to work for it. Well, this concept itself is completely unrealistic, because the definition of work is something that I don't like doing. But if you do something that you like and that helps you to provide for your family, you actually provide for your family, but you don't work because you love your work so much that you don't feel like you're working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a bit like that saying, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
And that's exactly it. This is exactly this. It's about the semantics right here, and it's about the relationship that you develop with your work. It's literally about this.
Right. So if we take it back to meditation and how that can impact your work, say someone is in a job that they don't love or particularly like, but there isn't really the option to leave it, perhaps for financial reasons or whatever, can inputting a little bit of meditation, such as what you do, 2 to 5 minutes a day, would that be useful to people so that they can leave work at work, and then when they do have that time to spend with their family, it's purely just family time, and the frustrations and the anger or the upset from work isn't impacted or coming through to the family time?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically it's like when you become aware of the emotion that you have, you can do like, you know that the emotion is right there. Once you know that, let's say, for example, you develop the frustration, you are frustrated. That's the first step of emotional intelligence. The second step is, am I going to let this frustration come out on people or not? If I do, this is going to be, I'm going to sabotage what's going to happen. Basically, I'm going to start screwing up what's going to happen around me. And basically work that I don't really like already is going to get even worse. But if I'm aware that I'm frustrated and I decide to take control of my frustration and not to display that to people and put it out there, do a bit of meditation and say, okay, it's just frustration. I'm just going to put it aside. I need to act professionally right there. Then the work environment is going to be a lot different, because what I send to people is going to be a positive message. So because of that, people are not going to tend to send me something negative, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So that kind of leads on to the last question I've got is, how can you be aware in difficult situations?
So being aware of difficult situation is, this one really takes practice. And at the beginning, you're not going to be aware on the moment because you're getting driven by the thing, what's happening. So if you want to develop your awareness, what I recommend is, and I love doing this at the end of the day, when you go to brush your teeth, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm left-handed, but I brush my teeth with my right hand.
Perfect. So normally you brush your teeth with the right hand. Remember when we talk about crossing the road left or right, and you do that automatically without thinking? So when you brush your teeth, it's the same. You don't think about it. So I want to challenge you tonight to brush your teeth with your left hand.
Okay.
By doing this, you're going to force yourself to think about what you are doing, because it's not natural for you. Okay? So you're going to put yourself in an uncomfortable position-ish, still in the safety of your bathroom, right? So you're going to become aware that you're brushing with your left hand. Because you are aware at that moment, it opens the door to a time of meditation or a time of self-reflection on your day. So while you brush your teeth, which is about 45 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever, I want you to think about what happened during your day. Think about situation where you didn't feel comfortable. Think about a difficult situation and think about the emotion that was behind it. How did that make you feel and how did you react to that? Now, so you have the situation, the emotion. So situation, emotion, and reaction. The situation stays the same. We just focus on the emotion and the reaction. Now, take the emotion out of the way and put another one. This one. See how it's going to affect the reaction that you're going to have. So basically, what you're going to realize is that when you enter that difficult situation, you reacted in a certain way because emotionally driven, you were maybe frustrated, for example. If you weren't frustrated, but instead you were happy, the reaction that you had in the difficult situation will have been fundamentally different. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So once you do that exercise, that fun exercise, easy to do, you start to bring your awareness of the situation. And the next time that you enter the similar situation, you're actually going to remember what you've done. And you're going to remember, oh, if I'm different, emotionally speaking, at that situation, then I can change the impact. I can change the result. And the result that I can have can be a lot more positive to it. Remember, it's all about the outcome. So a difficult situation means that the outcome that we had is not great. We just want to look at what outcome do I want to have? What should I need to do or think in order to have a better outcome? That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect then. So this is how you're going to bring your awareness into the game on a daily basis and how you can practice awareness. The tip about the brushing your teeth is one of them. I had also another coach. He used to tell his client to put a coin in their shoe because they feel the coin all day long. So because of that, they remember, be aware that there's a coin in your shoe, but also be aware of the things around you. And it actually worked pretty well. So that's a great idea to do that, for example. But that's how you can bring the thing into the game. Now, if you want to kick off with awareness and kind of recenter yourself about the value, who you are and everything, sit down, take a piece of paper, and like I said, do that first exercise. What is important for me today? What was important for me the last 3 months? What was important for me the last 3 years? What are my core values? Okay, think about this. Then the second thing you can do is you can ask yourself, who am I? Who am I in 2 different things? So you do 2 columns. The first column will be, I am something, something, something. So for example, I am generous, I am kind, I am funny, that type of things. And on the right column, you're gonna write, I am a blah, 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 blah. I am a father, I am a husband, I am a brother, I am this, 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 I am an employee, and all that type of things. And basically, you're gonna write down all the things about you, how you are and everything and so on. And what I want people to do when they do that exercise about the I am and I am a, about who you are, is once you've done your list, review it, have a look at it. And I want you to focus on every negative thought that you have about yourself. Because these things, if in the column that say I am, you're gonna put I am depressed, I am not good enough, I am stressed. All these things that you write on the paper, it means that this is things that you tell to yourself every single day. This is the nastiest poison that you can do to yourself. It's your internal communication that you have with yourself. So I want you to take all this negative and I want you to transform them into something positive. So if I say, for example, if I go back to the example, which is, I am not good enough, we can turn that into saying, I can do better.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
You're just changing the narrative slightly.
I can do better means that there's an opportunity right there. You create an opportunity by saying, I can do better. I am not good enough means that it's never going to work. The idea is the same, but the vocabulary changes and it creates a huge switch in your subconscious. So every time you tell yourself something negative, oh, you're terrible at this. No, you say, I haven't practiced enough.
Yeah.
If you have something that says, I'm depressed, you want to turn that into something that says, I am not at my best at the moment, or I can be in a better state. It's the same idea. You can say, or you can simply say, I am having a difficult situation. I'm having a difficult period of time. It's something that is not meant to last. but really get rid of every single negative talk that you do with yourself, because it brings you down, and this will lead to stress over and over again. If you have I'm stressed, you say no, it's not that you're stressed, is you are worried about a situation because you feel that you are not in control. So what can you do behind it to develop that strategy and so on? It's very, very important. So these exercises will really help you to kick off on awareness, starting to have like the structure, if you prefer, of awareness. And you can review this like on a regular basis and all of that, and try to be aware of all the difficult situation, motivates you, triggers you, and all that type of thing on a daily basis.
That's really cool, because even if there are things that perhaps at first glance would be negative, like you mentioned, I'm depressed or I'm not good enough, if you just change the way you word it, you're turning it into a positive and allowing yourself room for improvement, which then surely triggers your brain to think of it in a more positive situation, rather than be like, oh no, I'm not good enough. It's like, well, what can I do to improve? There is always room for improvement. How can I better myself?
Absolutely. And it's also about the question is, what do you believe about yourself? That's also one more question that people can work on, is what do you believe about yourself as an individual? And same right there, write down whatever comes on it, and whatever is negative, challenge yourself to turn it into positive. And it might feel uncomfortable because that's the image that we have of ourselves, but we need to understand, we need to take ownership about the fact that we are putting this barrier in our mind. No one else is doing it for us. We are doing it ourselves. We are allowing people to speak to us in a bad way, and that makes it feel small. It's up to us to do whatever it takes to grow in something like this. The last tip that I love to give people when they're getting lost in those negative thoughts is they need to hijack the brain. So some people are getting so good at doing negative thoughts, like a spiral, they're like, I'm really good, I'm too stressed, and this and this and this. And the fact is they engage with the thought, they engage with this and they keep playing with it. Yeah. I tell them, you need to hijack the brain. Even if you don't speak to your brain directly, you need to divert it to do something else. So I call that the 5 seconds rule. Every time that there's a negative thought that comes that is too strong, or stress situation or whatever, is to count to 5 out loud or in your head, but do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It doesn't matter. You just count to 5. So you have that negative thought and say, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, you're terrible at this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By doing this, you completely hijack your brain, which means all the energy that was going towards a negative thought will actually be diverted to 5 seconds rule. Because of this, you don't give energy to this anymore. This will disappear. Or if it doesn't disappear, it will actually be diminished, and it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it completely disappears. That's how you hijack your brain. It's a great, great, great tip that I love giving to people every time they engage into something where they think too much. Hijack your brain. 5 seconds rule, go for it, and boom, you're going to see that's going to help you to get rid of it. And most of the time at the end of those 5 seconds, you do an action. So, the thing classic like, oh, I want to go to the gym, but I'm not good enough and I'm too lazy and all of that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up, put your shoes and up to the gym. As simple as this. So hijack the brain is a great one as well.
That sounds quite similar to what you're talking about meditation and hijacking the brain, versus when a thought comes into your mind when you're meditating, it's your little cloud, and acknowledging that it's there but then letting it pass. That's kind of what I'm understanding, that when you're hijacking your brain, it's allowing that thought to be there but then taking a few seconds to let it pass on and then not thinking about it.
Absolutely. It's a different type of, it's kind of like the meditation thing. Absolutely. So in the meditation, like we said, we want to refocus on something different than engaging with this cloud right there. Absolutely. So the difference with the meditation is, in the meditation, the thought doesn't have to be something positive, negative, or something like this. Like, it's a thought in general that doesn't have any value behind it of judgment, if you prefer. While the 5 seconds rule, the hijacked brain, you really want to use it in an emergency situation when you're dealing with something that destroys you, when you're dealing with something that is not serving you.
Yeah.
And that would be the slight difference that you have between the two, but the concept is the same, is the fact that you drive the energy of your brain to something different.
Right. And that obviously that's kind of the thing that a bit like meditation, you can't be perfect at it overnight. It has to be something that you work on, and to see those real results, especially being aware in difficult situations, it's not like you mentioned before, you can't suddenly be really good at changing your emotion or your reaction to a difficult situation. It's just something that with being aware of awareness, it just over time it comes and it becomes a lot easier.
Yes and no. I would say that awareness is a lot easier than meditation, in a way that meditation take practice. You can become aware, like you can be aware of how you feel straight away. The issue with awareness is the challenge that people encounter with awareness is the fact that once they start to be more aware of how they act and everything and so on, is how comfortable they are with how they act. Mm-hmm. And this is where the challenge becomes very important. So I've seen people developing awareness very, very quickly because, like I said, remember the exercise of the red object and the blue object. Now that we talk about awareness, people are going to start to think more about awareness, and it's going to start to become a little bit more evident. But the challenge that they encounter is the fact that they're like, oh, wow, I was angry in that situation, and this is how I projected myself to people. I'm aware that I came across as a beep. So am I comfortable with this or not? And that's the challenge that people sometimes have. Some people will be super happy with the way that they're getting projected. Some people want to have more emotional control. And so they're going to start like being like, oh, what am I supposed to do to that, to work around those emotions and everything? And as a coach, actually, this is when people are calling me most of the time. The awareness exercise is rolling fairly quickly, but they call me when they're like, I realized that I reacted this way, I reacted this way, I reacted this way. I don't know what to do against it. What can I do? And that's when they call me most of the time.
Right. So by doing that exercise of brushing your teeth with your other hand and thinking about a difficult situation that you encountered during the day and your emotion versus reaction to it, over time because you said earlier that in situations you're emotionally driven and sometimes you can't control how you react to it, it's when you look back on it that you realize that your reaction was either good or bad. Over time, if you are thinking about how you reacted in a situation when you're doing the brushing your teeth or whatever, is that when it can become easier in a difficult situation to stop and realize, well, in the past I acted angrily, but I know that afterwards I didn't feel good about that, so I'm just going to take a step back and realize that I don't need to act angrily or react angrily.
Absolutely, 100%. You nailed it perfectly on this one. That's exactly how it's going to work. So you will learn from your mistake because you had the time to reflect on them, if you prefer. And so because of that, the following time, you're going to decide to take a different course of action, a different course of thought, because you know that it had previously not a good impact. It previously had a result that you didn't like. So because of this, you're going to start changing the thing. So it's going to be like your little snowball effect. That's exactly how awareness will work. Absolutely. And
wow, okay.
It's also not only you're going to have this, but it's also like you're going to start to become aware that when you react to a certain way, it creates a certain type of result in general. So then you're going to realize that if you react in a different way, it's going to generate another type of result. This, for example, works great with children. when you work with children and they make you angry for whatever reason, because they're 2 years old and they have all their pitfalls and all that type of things and tantrum and all of that, when you react a certain way to their tantrums, you're going to see that the tantrum is going to go further up. So if you get driven by anger in that moment and your anger goes up and the tantrum goes up and up and up and up and up, well, basically it's just a vicious circle and no one stops. If you're able to reflect on this, and as difficult as it is, you think about, what if I had reacted this way? Maybe the result would be different. Then you will try this the following time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're going to be able to do that 100% of the time, but you will be in some situation where that's going to click straight away and be like, ooh, try that. Ooh, try a different things and all that. And you're going to start to play with your thing. If you prefer, what we're trying to do is to stop the autopilot that we have in our mechanic. Remember, we have all the wheels and all that and so on. It works in a certain way. We just want to press stop. We want to stop the autopilot, look at it and say, I don't like the way that this works right there. I don't like getting angry when my little one is giving a tantrum, for example. So I cannot stop the tantrum. Maybe I can prevent it in a certain way, but what can I do to avoid for me to be stressed and angry in that situation?
Yeah, okay. That is really useful information, and I know that I'm gonna, over the next few weeks, or even just for the rest of the month and continuing on, I'm gonna find and remember those little bits of information that you've given today and apply that to my life. And I'm gonna go brush my teeth now with my other hand and think about my day and how I reacted to situations. So before we finish up this video, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the people watching about awareness?
I think we've seen a lot today in this one. And so like awareness, like we say, meditation is the beginning. Meditation helps you to lead to awareness. And what we talked today is really about internal awareness, is the awareness of how you feel and the awareness of how you're going to act based on these emotions that you have right there. After that, we're going to be able to talk about how it impacts on other people, how it projects on the people, and the awareness of our emotion on other people. When I'm angry, how does that going to make you feel? And it's to be able to start to read the cues on people and such thing, which is very important. But so when you have all the awareness, it leads to the fact that you can be grateful for many, many things. And so that's going to be the subject of our future, of our next video, is to talk about how can we be grateful and how can we apply that in our daily basis. Okay, so there's lots of content in that video. Digest all of it, have a look into that. But the most important is whatever we discuss, try to put that into practice. Try a different way, find more information. There is lots of information on the website of Shaking Minds, www.shakingminds.com if you want. But yeah, put some questions if you want. We're going to be able to answer it. We're going to be able to help you with any of that. Put all of this into practice. Don't let it flop just like that, because otherwise you won't be able to make a difference, positive in your life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Sofian, for joining us, and we look forward to the next video on gratitude. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks everyone. See you soon.